Why, hello there, fire giants and salamanders alike. Shams Nelson here from Pen and Blade. And in this short tutorial, don't blink, you might miss it. I'm going to show you how to paint or draw a volcano for your map and world building needs. And then we'll do a little world building with a volcano type world. So maybe we'll have two volcanoes, and I'll actually just move this fella up into the corner. And let's get the whole picture here. Move this fella up into the corner. We'll build another volcano down on the bottom right, and maybe they can be like rival volcanoes. Oh yeah, that should be fun for world building. And we'll use the random region generator brought to us by Phil Com. Phil requested this video, so it's very appropriate that the random region generator we created together will be featured. But yes, let's get right into how to draw a volcano. So the first thing is two lines. The first two things are two lines. Something like this. So what you want to notice about these lines is that they flatten out at the bottom. And that there's not too much, like jaggediness going on there. I've noticed that if you add too many things, so when I do mountains, I like to, add these little peaks and stuff and kind of get a little creative with it there. But if you add too many of these things, it distracts from the focal point of the volcano, which will be the lava, of course. So after creating these two lines, the next thing you want to do is create some lava goo. And the good rule of thumb for doing this is to have one drip of goo longer than the others, and then one or two shorter drips of goo. And we're going to call this goo, is it magma, or is magma I think magma is under the earth and lava is when it comes to the surface. But whatever it is, it's hot, fiery rock goo. And it's, there's no truly wrong way to do it, but just to give you an example of what might not work as well is 3 evenly shaped drops. It doesn't quite have the same flow and the same effect, let's say. So next let's go back to our original volcano. We're going to add the side goos. So coming down here, you're going to make a drop shape. Actually, let's make sure it's not touching. So a drop shape there, and maybe another drop shape that's either longer or shorter. I think shorter is going to work here. And then finally at the top, we're not going to make it completely straight because we're remembering this is very gooey. So give it a little bit of a dip and round off the corners. Oops, and you can see now that we've got, this one's got, see, just the dip is ever so slight, so you don't have to make the dip too dippy. You know what I mean? You can make it more subtle if you want. Now you've got the basics of your volcano. The last thing you're going to want to do is, well, see, this one has a huge what do they call it? A crater? No, cauldron? No, I don't know what the name of the hole in the top of a volcano is, but it's very large compared to the mountain. So this one I might actually want to make the mountain taller. Yeah, that looks a little more imposing. I'm liking it. And the last thing is the smoke. So one easy way to do smoke is with a lot of little tiny circles and just going left and right, left and right. Start off small and end small is a nice way to just easily put some smoke in there. You can also do the cloudy smoke method. Remember to just make it get big and small, with some big parts, some skinny parts. Add some nice variety. You can add a couple puffs to the side, right? It's another method to add some smoke to your volcano. You could also have the spewing volcano with little droplets spewing out. And so just make sure all of the droplets are coming, thus just to illustrate, that they're all coming out of the center and that the skinny little end to them are pointing back into the center of the volcano. You could even have some plumes coming off like that if you want. So if the volcano is actively erupting on your map, this might be a good method to choose. You could even, and I just realized you could do this kind of like a smoke cloud volcano. You don't have to add the little, if this is really, it just erupted. You could have something like that. So to do that, the mushroom cloud, I mean. is, you know, you have the two straight things, and then there's often this little like Saturn ring coming off, and so you double that to give it a little thickness. And then this will go, the smoke part starts a little bit below the end of those two lines, and then a little bit above you have another thing. So it really feels like this part is shooting up into the middle, and you can even add some lines like that, and add a couple cloudy spots in there. I guess to make it more mushroom cloudy, you just make this part more mushroom shaped, if you want. But my favorite method, and maybe you can have just overlap like that to keep it simple. My favorite is this kind of wispy smoke that you see up here. I'd like to make these kind of shapes. So the basic shape here is an S and another S. That's kind of like the basic form that you're going for, with some smaller ones coming off. And then what you want to do is just add some variation into that. So you see it ends and starts with this, and you can kind of still see that S shape in there ever so slightly. So here's a little something like that. I think I'm going to leave that volcano as is. So I hope I didn't go too fast. Oh, the last thing I'd like to do is add these lines to give the volcano a little texture. And my trick for that is to make the longest lines on the furthest out, and then make them get progressively smaller as they go in, like that. But I also like to break them up a little, gives it a more natural look. So here, like that maybe, you know, not too much, just a couple hints of these lines. And then let's add some mountains along the edge. And the mountains will give you an idea of how big this volcano is. So right now this volcano is looking pretty enormous. This is the big one, that's the small one apparently. Because of the scale that these mountains around are giving it. If I make the mountain this big, all of a sudden that volcano is looking a little more wimpy. So let's keep this volcano pretty large. This volcano is large and in charge, and we're going to give him a name in a moment using the random region generator. And then we'll just do a wee bit of world building around it for the fun of it. Now, I wasn't going to talk too much about like the actual formation of volcanoes and stuff. One thing I'll point out in this volcano tutorial, and I won't talk about my drawing of mountains because I made lots of videos about how to draw mountains, so you can find that on the channel. But one thing to keep in mind is, let's say one of the places you often find volcanoes are on islands. And that's because island chains are created by volcanic activity. So there's like under the earth, you know, there's this lava here. This is the earth, you know, this is the sea. There's lava here, and it's building up. You know, as it hits the water, it hardens, and then it pushes more up, and it hits the water and hardens, pushing more up, and it keeps doing that until, if it surfaces over the water, it creates an island. But what's also happening is that the Earth is moving, the tectonic plates are moving, but this hot spot stays in the same spot. So as this moves over, and the hot spot stays in the same spot, we get another thing like that, and then you get a second island, right? So this is an island, this is an island, and then we move it over again, and then we got here's another little island popping out from the sea, right? And so this is where you get like Hawaii and other islands that kind of have this. You can tell that there's this shape, and I believe the bigger ones will usually be the oldest, and these ones are the new ones. I think that's right. I'm not 100% sure of that. So that's another thing. Like, that's why I think volcanoes are often associated with like this tropical, jungly landscape, because also the soot and the volcanic stuff creates a very lush environment around. Once it stops being on fire, it's get very jungly, very good soil to grow some jungle in. You know what I'm saying? So we're gonna add some nice jungle to this guy, and we're going to name him. Generate Red Veil would be a great name, but That would be cheating because I was already there from the beginning. So we shall name this larger volcano here our friend Monster Arm. That's interesting. Monster Arm. So I'm wondering if maybe could there be like an arm, like a crazy arm that comes out of here sometimes? And like, oh, what if there's like some evil cult and they bring people up to this mountain and they like summon the great arm and this giant lava arm comes out and takes him into the thing, and they believe that if they don't appease this lava monster with, you know, sacrifices, that um, that you know he won't be too happy about it and he might just explode. So this is lava arm. Wait, monster arm. Monster Arm Mountain? No, that sounds like a ride at a theme park. Maybe it's just called Monster Arm. Monster Arm Volcano? Are volcanoes Volcano Monster Arm? Volcano Mount St. Helen is a volcano. Hawaiian volcanoes just have cool Hawaiian names. I don't really know if there's a good naming convention for volcanoes. Let me know in the comments if there is a typical way of Mount Monster Arm. Like, I don't like that either. Again, it sounds like something out of Six Flags. So we're just going to call this Volcano Monster Arm. And to actually make this, I have a video about how I do jungles. And this isn't exactly how I do it, but one of the things that I like to do for jungles is to make the stems taller. Because I think jungles tend to have very tall trees. So usually I make the and so in the north, maybe this volcano is actually, it's more of just like a regular forest. So to contrast that, you know, this is the size of the stems that I do at regular forest, while the volcano is maybe a little bit shorter than that, but you see they're a little longer. Cool. I don't think I'll build out this whole map. But so we've got the cult of the monster arm, and they live in, this is going to be the rainforest. Gold Peak. Peak Gold sounds weird. So there's going to be Gold Peak, the Gold Peak jungles. So apparently there's gold in these mountains. Gold Peak jungle. There's gold in these mountains, and they're very, like, I'm thinking this El Dorado type vibe here, but like a Aztec human sacrifice El Dorado, evil El Dorado, you know. Evil El Dorado is like kind of the elevator pitch for this. So these peaks have some gold in them, right? And so that brings up a little bit of why they might. I don't think there's gold peaks up in these mountains here, and so let's actually make these part of the same mountain range. You know, and then we'll put a river here. It'll be good. Let's connect the jungle so the river will be surrounded by jungles. So I don't know if I'll draw all the jungle, but you guys can safely assume that all of this is jungle region. All right, and then maybe there could be some hills here, and this is where the jungle ends, and this is where our other civilization will live. They're more of a plains people. There could be let's go ahead and make a little city. Maybe this is where the monster arm tribe actually collects its human sacrifices. Ooh, this is dark, man. You know, hide your children from this video. This is not going to a happy place, apparently. So this town is called, Fire Forest. Forest fire? Fire forest? That would make sense for this volcano. I guess that's why because the forest. Let's do Fire Forest. The town of Fire Forest, because the forest is often on fire. So we could actually, sometimes the volcanoes will have, you'll have a volcano like this, right? And this is the main plume of lava coming up. But there'll be these little offshoots. These can be these little offshoots where lava's coming out from the edge of the volcano. So that's what we got going on here in one of these little offshoots, which we've drawn. Comes into the forest, and there'll be little fires, right? Sometimes the forest will often be on fire, you know. And so let's actually move this town to a little bit closer to the fire forest. And I'm not sure what the lore would be. How would they utilize this fire forest, or how has that affected the growth of their civilization? You know, there's probably some creatures, some special creatures, like I mentioned at the beginning, salamander types, right? Or fire giants who dwell in this region. So let's generate some text here. Emerald grave. So we've got gold here, but up in these mountains, we've got some emeralds. Emerald grave. And let's just make something up about Mount Emerald Grave. That's cool. Let's make something up about how emeralds are formed. Let's say that when the human, like any kind of organic creature, gets covered in lava in this region for some reason. Could that be green lava? That would be crazy. No, it's okay. Let's leave it normal. But there's some kind of the chemical composition in the area. Eventually, their bodies, as they decompose, instead of like petrifying or, you know, whatever, they turn into emeralds. So you have these, if you dig up the graves, you'll find these emeralds, giant emeralds in the shape of the creature that was buried in the lava long ago. So that's probably a frowned upon like thing to do, but like gold, you know, like adventure or yeah, dark adventurers or people seeking their fortunes, unscrupulous, is that a word? Unscrupulous folk who come here seeking their fortunes might be grave diggers, grave robbers who would disturb the resting to get a giant, super huge emerald. So in Fire Forest, it's illegal. There's probably a black market, but it's not legal to trade or deal in emeralds because they're considered to be this kind of a dark. They're associated with these practices. So we've got a cool little story that we've brewed here, and I'm wondering, I mean, I'd love to hear where you guys would take this. You know, this was just a little bit of fun world building. I'm trying to see how I would connect, the people of Fire Forest and the Gold Peak civilization that lives there. But I don't want to make this video too long because it was mostly a tutorial on how to draw volcanoes with a little extra flair popped in there. And so I'll leave it here, but definitely let me know your world building ideas in the comments below. And also, how did you use volcanoes in your world building and maps? I would be very intrigued to hear that. Before we go, we're going to randomly generate one more location, and that is going to be a little town right around here. I think that'll be cute. And I'm not going to do any world building for it. That's going to be purely for you guys to world build in the comments below. So tell me about the town of Silver Dwarf. I wonder what you'll come up with. Until next time, peace, God bless, and stay fantastic, everyone.